Animal Farm by George Orwell. Animal Farm is a political allegory that tells the story of a group of farm animals who overthrow their human owner in hopes of establishing a society where all animals are equal. Led by the pigs, the animals initially succeed in creating a utopian farm. However, as the pigs, especially Napoleon, gain power, they begin to resemble the humans they once rebelled against. The ideals of equality are slowly eroded as the pigs manipulate the other animals and establish a dictatorship. By the end, the animals realize that their new rulers are just as oppressive as the humans, symbolizing the corruption of revolutionary ideals. Let's deep dive into the book. The Rebellion. The story begins on Mr. Jones's farm, where the animals are overworked, mistreated, and fed poorly. Inspired by Old Major, an elderly boar who shares his vision of a farm free from human tyranny, the animals stage a rebellion. After Old Major's death, the pigs, led by Napoleon and Snowball, take charge and lead the animals in driving Mr. Jones off the farm. The animals rename the property Animal Farm and establish the 7 Commandments of Animalism, which emphasize equality and freedom from human oppression. The rebellion symbolizes the Russian Revolution and the overthrow of the oppressive Tsarist regime. Early success. In the beginning, the revolution seems to be a success. The animals work together, motivated by a shared vision of equality and prosperity. Under the leadership of the pigs, especially Snowball, the farm becomes more efficient, and the animals experience a brief period of hope and excitement. Snowball devises ambitious plans, such as building a windmill to generate electricity and improve productivity. However, Napoleon, the other leading pig, is quietly plotting to consolidate power for himself. The early success of the farm represents the initial optimism of revolutionary movements, where ideals seem attainable and unity prevails. Napoleon's rise to power. Tensions between Napoleon and Snowball escalate, culminating in a power struggle. During a debate over the windmill, Napoleon uses his trained dogs to chase Snowball off the farm, seizing total control. Napoleon then rewrites history, portraying Snowball as a traitor and enemy of the farm. With Snowball gone, Napoleon becomes the farm's unchallenged leader and begins to exert control over every aspect of life. He cancels the democratic meetings and makes decisions without consulting the other animals. This marks the beginning of Napoleon's dictatorship and reflects the rise of totalitarian leaders who consolidate power through force and manipulation. The windmill and broken promises. Napoleon reverses Snowball's plan for the windmill, claiming it was his idea all along, and forces the animals to work tirelessly to build it. The construction of the windmill symbolizes the promises of progress made by revolutionary leaders, but it quickly becomes a tool of oppression. The animals are subjected to harder labor and harsher conditions, while the pigs grow more comfortable. As the windmill is destroyed and rebuilt multiple times, the animals' faith in their leaders begins to waver, but Napoleon and the pigs use propaganda and fear to maintain control. The windmill represents both the false promises of the revolution and the exploitation of the working class. Corruption of the pigs. As Napoleon consolidates his power, the pigs begin to enjoy privileges and luxuries that the other animals are denied. They move into the farmhouse, sleep in beds, and consume more food, all while justifying their actions by slowly altering the 7 Commandments. Squealer, Napoleon's propagandist, manipulates the other animals into believing that these changes are necessary for the farm's success. The pigs' gradual adoption of human behaviors and indulgence in excess represent the corruption of revolutionary leaders who, once in power, become indistinguishable from the oppressors they once fought against. Exploitation of the animals. The working animals, particularly Boxer the horse, embody the ideals of hard work and loyalty to the cause. Boxer's motto, "I will work harder," reflects his dedication to animalism, even as conditions on the farm deteriorate. However, the pigs exploit Boxer's strength for their own benefit. When Boxer becomes injured and can no longer work, Napoleon sends him to a glue factory under the pretense of providing medical care. Boxer's fate illustrates the betrayal of the working class by those in power, who use and discard them when they are no longer useful. Propaganda and control. Squealer plays a central role in maintaining Napoleon's power by constantly manipulating the truth. He uses propaganda to convince the animals that their hardships are necessary and that Napoleon's leadership is infallible. Squealer rewrites history, alters the 7 commandments, and uses fear of the return of Mr. Jones to keep the animals in line. The animals are unable to recognize the extent of the manipulation due to their lack of education and critical thinking skills. Orwell uses Squealer to symbolize the role of state propaganda in totalitarian regimes, where truth is distorted to maintain control over the population. The betrayal of the revolution. Over time, the animals notice that the original ideals of the revolution are being eroded. The pigs, once advocates of equality, now enjoy privileges that make them indistinguishable from the humans they overthrew. The final alteration of the 7 commandments, from all animals are equal to all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, represents the complete betrayal of the revolution's principles. The other animals realize too late that they have been deceived, and their hopes for a just and equal society have been crushed. This reflects Orwell's critique of the Soviet Union, where the ideals of socialism were corrupted by the ruling elite. The final transformation. In the novel's closing scene, the animals observe the pigs engaging in friendly dealings with human farmers, and they can no longer tell the difference between the two. The pigs, having adopted human habits, now walk on 2 legs, wear clothes, and socialize with humans. The animals are left powerless, watching as their leaders, once champions of their cause, become indistinguishable from the very oppressors they sought to overthrow. The final transformation of the pigs symbolizes the ultimate failure of the revolution, where the new ruling class becomes just as corrupt and oppressive as the old one. The cycle of oppression. The novel ends on a bleak note, as the animals realize that their situation has not improved since the rebellion. Despite their hard work and sacrifices, they remain oppressed and powerless under the rule of the pigs. The cycle of oppression continues, as the revolution has merely replaced one tyrant with another. Orwell uses Animal Farm to illustrate how revolutions, when corrupted by power, can fail to bring about true change, and instead perpetuate systems of inequality and exploitation. The novel serves as a warning about the dangers of totalitarianism and the corrupting influence of absolute power. Let's meet together the main characters of the book. Napoleon is one of the 2 leading pigs who take charge after the rebellion, but he quickly emerges as the sole ruler of Animal Farm after driving Snowball away. He is authoritarian, manipulative, and ruthless, using fear and propaganda to maintain control over the animals. Napoleon gradually becomes indistinguishable from the human oppressors he once opposed, adopting their behaviors and privileges. His character represents Joseph Stalin and the corrupt leadership that arose in the aftermath of the Russian Revolution, as well as the dangers of absolute power. Snowball is the other leading pig who helps lead the rebellion against Mr. Jones. He is intelligent, articulate, and genuinely committed to the ideals of animalism. Snowball envisions a better future for the animals and works on plans like the windmill to improve their lives. However, his vision and leadership are cut short when Napoleon ousts him from the farm, labeling him a traitor. Snowball represents Leon Trotsky, a key figure in the Russian Revolution who was later exiled by Stalin. His character symbolizes the idealism that is often crushed by power struggles in revolutionary movements. Squealer is Napoleon's loyal propagandist, responsible for manipulating the truth and spreading lies to maintain the pigs' control over the farm. He constantly revises history, alters the 7 commandments, and convinces the animals that their suffering is necessary for the greater good. Squealer represents the role of propaganda in totalitarian regimes, where truth is distorted to serve those in power. His ability to manipulate the animals' perceptions reflects the ways in which authoritarian governments use propaganda to maintain control and suppress dissent. Boxer is a hard-working, loyal horse who represents the exploited working class. He is dedicated to the ideals of the rebellion and believes in Napoleon's leadership, often repeating his personal mottos, "I will work harder," and "Napoleon is always right." Despite his loyalty, Boxer is ultimately betrayed by the pigs when he becomes too weak to work. Instead of receiving medical care, he is sold to a glue factory. Boxer's tragic fate symbolizes the betrayal of the working class by those in power, as well as the exploitation of labor in oppressive regimes. Old Major is the elderly Boer whose vision of a society free from human tyranny inspires the rebellion. He teaches the animals the principles of animalism and encourages them to overthrow their human oppressors. Old Major represents Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin, the ideological founders of communism and the Russian Revolution. His ideas lay the foundation for the rebellion, but his vision is ultimately corrupted by the pigs who come to power. Old Major's speech and ideals symbolize the original revolutionary principles that are later betrayed by the ruling class. Mr. Jones is the drunken and neglectful owner of the farm who is overthrown by the animals during the rebellion. He represents the oppressive, exploitative ruling class, specifically Tsar Nicholas II, whose incompetence and mistreatment of the Russian people led to the Russian Revolution. Mr. Jones's mismanagement of the farm serves as the catalyst for the animals' rebellion, but his removal from power does not lead to the freedom and equality the animals had hoped for, as they are soon oppressed by their new leaders, the pigs. Let's explore together the main themes and concepts of the book. Corruption of power. One of the central themes in Animal Farm is the corrupting influence of power. As the pigs gain control of the farm, they initially claim to represent the interests of all animals, promoting equality and shared prosperity. However, as Napoleon consolidates his authority, the pigs become increasingly corrupt, using their power to exploit the other animals for their own benefit. Orwell illustrates how revolutionary ideals can be corrupted when power is concentrated in the hands of a few, and how those in power often prioritize their own interests over the greater good, ultimately betraying the very principles they once stood for. The dangers of totalitarianism. Animal Farm serves as a critique of totalitarian regimes, particularly Stalinism in the Soviet Union. Through the character of Napoleon, Orwell explores how authoritarian leaders manipulate and control the population, using fear, propaganda, and violence to maintain their rule. The novel demonstrates how totalitarian governments suppress dissent, rewrite history, and consolidate power to ensure their dominance. The gradual erosion of the animals' rights and freedoms under Napoleon's rule reflects the dangers of unchecked power, where the ruling elite can become as oppressive and tyrannical as the regime they replaced. Class struggle and inequality. The novel reflects the themes of class struggle and inequality, as the working animals on the farm represent the exploited working class, while the pigs symbolize the ruling elite. Despite the animals' initial hopes for a classless society, the pigs quickly establish themselves as the new ruling class, enjoying privileges that the other animals do not. The inequality between the pigs and the rest of the animals grows as the pigs manipulate the system to their advantage, while the working animals continue to toil with little reward. Orwell critiques the ways in which revolutions can fail to address class inequality and instead perpetuate systems of exploitation. The role of propaganda. Propaganda plays a central role in maintaining the pigs' control over the other animals. Squealer, acting as Napoleon's mouthpiece, constantly manipulates the truth, revising the 7 Commandments and spreading false information to keep the animals submissive. Orwell illustrates how propaganda is used in totalitarian regimes to distort reality, control public perception, and suppress dissent. The animals, lacking education and critical thinking skills, are unable to recognize the extent of the manipulation, highlighting the importance of knowledge and awareness in resisting propaganda. The betrayal of revolutionary ideals. Animal Farm explores the betrayal of revolutionary ideals as the original principles of animalism, equality, justice, and freedom, are gradually corrupted by the pigs. Napoleon's rise to power and the eventual rewriting of the Seven Commandments reflect the abandonment of these ideals in favor of consolidating power and maintaining control. The novel critiques how revolutions can be co-opted by those in power, who betray the very principles they once championed in order to secure their own authority. Orwell's portrayal of this betrayal serves as a warning about the dangers of power and the vulnerability of revolutionary movements to corruption. Let's talk about the author. George Orwell, born Eric Arthur Blair in 1903, was an English novelist, essayist, and critic, best known for his works that critique totalitarianism, political oppression, and the abuse of power. His most famous novels, Animal Farm, 1945, and 1984, 1949, reflect his disillusionment with political movements, particularly Stalinist communism. Orwell's experiences during the Spanish Civil War and his observations of Soviet influence led him to write Animal Farm, an allegory of the Russian Revolution and its aftermath. Orwell's clear, direct prose and commitment to political truth made him one of the 20th century's most influential writers. He died in 1950. Sincere thanks for watching. If you found this summary helpful, consider taking a moment to hit the subscribe button, like or share the video. If you have any feedbacks or book requests, make sure to leave a comment. Regardless, I wish you a great day.